Okay, well, it's quieted down with folks rolling in. So I'm going to recommend y'all turn your microphones off so that there isn't any issue with background noises or feedback. Not that I don't want to hear from you, but we'll save the questions for the end. And you can actually stack up your questions in the chat here so that I can see them afterwards so that you don't forget about your question. But hello, I am Marcy. I'm the Special Events and Program Manager for the Virginia Capitol Trail Foundation. Thank you guys so much for joining this evening. This should be a really fun class. It was a blast to teach the last time, and I've done some cold weather riding since then, and I learned a couple new things that I'm excited to share with you. Now, do y'all see Mr. Bill over here? Do you see that good? Do you see the different temperatures and stuff? Cool. Make sure that y'all see that. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you, thank you. Another person joining. All right. Well, let's roll. Oh, well, I'll get into that. All right. Intro to your intro to cold weather riding. Just a heads up, it's personal. How you're going to feel, what you're going to want to wear. This is from my perspective, and I tend to run very cold, especially in my hands and feet. So just kind of use this as a guidance. But eventually you're gonna, whenever you get out there, it's gonna be a bit of an experimentation. This class is also catered towards riding on the Virginia Capitol Trail. So when you're riding on flat, open, headwind pavement. I'm not really gonna get too deep in the weeds on how dressing for cold weather riding, mountain biking, or when you're doing gravel riding in the mountains, how that will be variables. I'm just going to stay focused on the VCT, which I'm sure everybody who is here loves. Yay, Virginia Capitol Trail. Like I said, hold your questions until the end. Jot them down as I'm going, or feel free to throw them into the chat. And then once I've got all my words all wrapped up, I will look and see what you guys are asking about. Chat feature. And then once this is all said and done, and I've closed this call for the evening, I will be sending y'all an email tomorrow with some helpful links and just going over everything that I went over today so that you guys can have that as a resource. Okay, so someone else is joining here. That might happen a couple of times more. So over here, I've got Mr. Bill, and he is cold. Oh no! So we want to make sure that Mr. Bill is going to be comfortable riding his bike. So let's start dressing him for riding in 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll just put these away for now. There we go. So let's start with some socks. Now, once it gets to this range, especially closer to 45, I'm gonna wear thick wool socks. I really prefer wool to synthetics. I find that it's more breathable, more moisture wicking, and it doesn't stink as bad. So you'll hear me referencing a lot about wearing wool, particularly merino wool. These socks here are made by Defeat. They're woolly bully socks, and they have a very cute little sheep on the bottom that no one's gonna see while you're riding, but it's just real cute. After that, I would probably put on some leg warmers. Get those on, Mr. Bill. Now, depending on your temperature range, like your bodily temperature range, this might be too warm for you for leg warmers, and you might just want to do these knee warmers. Now, in this temperature range, I wouldn't do thermal, and thermal leg and knee warmers tend to be pretty thick on the outside and then have like that fleece lining. So in this temperature range, I would do, they're more like a knit leg warmer. And I'll send you the link to my favorite ones in the follow-up email tomorrow. Now, once you have those on, yeah, we're going to put some short bibs on. Looking good, Mr. Bill. Now, I always favor cargo bibs, which, like, yes, finally, these things are very much in style. Yay, pockets. It's really nice to have pockets on the side, and then they'll even have some pockets in the back. Because when it comes to riding in variable degrees of weather, you're going to want to be taking off layers and changing out layers. So having those additional pockets, not just for snacks or your cell phone, but to like just shove your extra gloves into, really, really, really helpful. Let's see, we got the short bibs. Now, it might be good if you're starting out in the morning and it's closer to this 45, but it's going to warm up to 55. Arm warmers are really nice to have, and they are super packable. You can just scrunch them up and put them in the back of your jersey, or if you have a bag on your bike, you can shove them in there. And that'll help you to get warmed up for your ride in the morning, and then you just remove them as the day goes on. Over top of that, you can put a t-shirt or your jersey. I'm a t-shirt person. I'm not such a big fan of jerseys, like just so many zippers just gets to be a lot. But merino wool t-shirts, smart wool, icebreaker, I think they're great. They wash up really nice. And again, super moisture wicking, and they even feel really great in the summer. Let's do a vest for this temperature range, especially at the beginning. Now, a vest and a t-shirt, I think some bike people are like not into that look, but for me, it feels really good. And if it gets warm, I can just unzip that and, you know, kind of have like a little Superman happening while I'm on my bike, which is fun. But again, a vest, very packable, or you could even start out with a jacket at this temperature range, a lightweight jacket, and then just take that off later and you'll just be in the t-shirt. Or you could think about just rocking a long sleeve this whole time, not worrying about taking off those arm warmers, and just have that vest to remove. So a lot of different options here. Now starting out in the morning, if you're closer to that 45 degrees, this is when my ears will start to get cold, especially if it's going to be like a windy 45. So I would take a buff, and I'm going to show you this. And if you don't know this trick, it's very handy, but I'm going to look a little ridiculous for a moment here. So I take a buff, which is just this like cylindrical piece of fabric, and you can go to the Virginia Capitol Trail store right on our website and buy your very own. So I slip this over my head, over my ears, and I'm not just going to let it like this because putting on a helmet, that's just sort of funny. But I pull it all the way up, and I twist it, and then I pull it back down. And then this is what I put my helmet on over top. It covers my ears, but it's not super heavy that it's gonna like make my head sweat like crazy. It's just gonna be enough to cover my ears. And then I also get like a funny little free space at the top of my head, which helps out with airflow. And again, I'm not getting too overheated with covering my head like that. Now let's look at hands. I would do some wool gloves. I love these ones made by Defeat. They are nice and grippy, and I also just love wearing them like casually in the winter, like having the grip on the pads and like driving with those. They've been an excellent pair of gloves. And then of course, topping it off with the helmet and your shoesies. So that's pretty much the options, I would say, for 45 to 55 degrees. You're gonna want those easily sheddable, packable layers, whether to put those in the pockets of your jersey, pockets of your bibs, or if you have some bags on your bike to shove those in. And that's a theme you're gonna hear me talk about in these 3 other degree options is packability and layering, because you kind of have to regulate yourself when you're riding in cold. Like, it's going to be cold, but you're going to be riding your bike and you're going to get warm, especially if you have like varying terrain where you're going up a hill, you're going to be going down a hill. It's going to be really warm climbing and it's going to be very cold descending. So I'm just going to take a moment here and undress Mr. Bill. So if you guys don't mind looking, don't want to be rude. There we go. Mr. Bill's back down to his skivvies. We're going to move on to the next temperature range, which is going to be 35 to 45. So approaching freezing. Again, we're going to start with those thick wool socks, and I probably should just keep these on Mr. Bill from here on out. Now, if your toes do tend to get cold quickly, you might want to consider getting a pair of liner socks, which are just like a thinner pair of socks that you wear underneath the thicker wool socks. But I will say, if you're going to layer on socks, you might want to go up a size in your shoe, because if your shoe is fitting really tight with layering socks, that's going to mess up your circulation and you're not going to get that warmth running through your feet like you intended to with layering your socks. Knee leg warmers, again, that could be a good option for this range. Once again, just depending on how warm or how cold your body goes. In the previous range, you might have considered removing these as you got closer to 55 degrees, but in this temperature range, you're going to keep these on. And instead of the knitted ones, you might want to consider going to thermal leggings, just depending on how much that chill is whenever you first start riding, or how the real feel is for the weather that day. And before we put the bibs on, let's do a base layer tank. Having a base layer underneath whenever you're riding next to freezing is really helpful for wicking that sweat, because you don't want that sweat sitting on you in cold weather because that's just going to make you even colder. So you really want to make sure that you're getting that sweat wicked away from your body. I'm going to admit somebody else into the call. There we go. And we'll put these bib shorts back on Mr. Bill. He's looking real good there. Let's go with a long sleeve this time around. So not considering doing arm warmers and t-shirts. In this degree, you're pretty much gonna want the long sleeve the whole time. Again, depending on how your body runs, you might want to do like a lighter long sleeve shirt or jersey. Again, I'm not a big fan of jerseys, so I just do the long sleeves. And it's also like so much more versatile in your closet too. Like I could go hiking in this, I could go rock climbing in this. It's not just cycling specific. If you're a very cool person, you might want to bump up to a sweater at this point. But I think for me, as a cold person, the long sleeve would do. And probably this entire ride, I would keep a jacket on. And I think I would bump up to like a more waterproof, windproof jacket. Let me grab a couple of examples of jackets that I have on the floor here. So in the previous range, a jacket that you would consider taking with you would be something like this. It's incredibly light. It really just helps to block out the wind, and it's like crazy packable, so easy to have. But this jacket, for this temperature, I would consider going up to something a little thicker. And this is like almost like soft shell territory. It's a waterproof and windproof jacket, so it's really going to help to keep you warm. It zippers from the top and from the bottom, so you can unzip to help regulate your temperature. And then I particularly really like this rain jacket from Specialized because it's a rain jacket, but it's also super stretchy. Sometimes these jackets can start to be constricting, and that's really going to hurt your shoulders as you're riding. If your shoulders are like kind of fighting, wanting to be in a good bike position, but you have this rain jacket pulling you back, the stretchable material is really, really nice. For this temperature, even pushing freezing, I would probably stick with just the buff on my head rather than going like a full thermal buff. And then I might start out with a buff around my neck, or that's something that I would just carry a secondary one with me. Having a secondary buff on has been really nice, not just for me to use, but for friends who just forgot a piece of clothing and got colder than what they assumed that they would. Super packable. I can pull it out and I can help out a buddy. And then again, let's do hands first. Really kind of a hard area to think right here because 35 and 45 can feel really, really different. So this is going to be another like very personal choice. If you're starting out in the morning and you're going to be riding more towards the 35 degrees for the whole day, you might want to consider some thicker thermal gloves. Now, I like the lobster claw gloves if you're going to do a thick glove, because it has these two fingers free for you to be able to break and shift, but then it has these two fingers together, and having these two fingers together will help to keep your whole hand warm. Mittens are much more warmer than full finger gloves, but for cycling, you do want to keep that dexterity So lobster claw gloves are very helpful. And then, again, if you're more consistently in 35 degrees, whenever you get your shoe on, wearing a toe cap is really nice to have. And it's just this little addition that it's soft shell, it keeps the wind away from your shoe. Like, these are so amazing. This was such a game changer whenever I decided to finally get a pair of these. And if my foot gets too hot, they're so thin and tiny, you just shove them in your pockets. Really great packable item that can really, really save your toes. And then again, for safety, put a helmet on Mr. Bill. So he's nice and layered up, ready to ride in this temperature range with some variability and unzipping and re-zipping. So let's go ahead and move on to the next temperature range. I'll get Mr. Bill undressed. Probably don't want that, actually. Put that on. All right, so we're going to move from the 35 to 45 degrees to 25 to 35 degrees. Now, this is where you're really feeling it. Like, this is cold. When it's pushing 25, like, you very well might not want to go outside, do a trainer ride, sleep in, have some cereal, put it off for another day getting on your bike, or take an adventure. It can be pretty fun. So do those thick wool socks, possibly a liner sock. You'll keep this tank on for that moisture wicking, which gets even more important the colder temperature range that you get. And we're going to move to long thermal bibs. Now, for a really long time, I was like, I don't need long thermal bibs. I've got, thermal leggings, so much cheaper than going for full bib. I've got the thermal leggings. I've got normal short bibs. I'll just rock that. Whenever I got a long pair of thermal bibs, oh my goodness, I had no idea how cold my butt was for so long. Having your butt insulated when biking, even though it's behind you, game changer. It kept the rest of my body feeling so much warmer. And in this degree range, I am going to go with a sweater. And for those of you who are jersey fans, you'll want to do a thermal jersey that's kind of pushing like a soft shell, but then has like that fleece lining. I like the sweater option because I can find more that have this asymmetrical zip, because in cold weather riding, you're doing layers and layers and layers and layers. If you can get a zipper off to the side rather than zipper on top of zipper on top of zipper, so that you don't have all this bulk up against your neck, and when you're riding like this, it's kind of constricting your breathing. So thankfully, somebody in the cycling industry realized you can just push that zipper over. So keep your eye out for an asymmetrical zip. Really nice to add to your repertoire. Yeah, we're gonna go into soft shell jacket territory. A couple weekends ago, I took a long, cold ride on the trail. And since it was a long ride, instead of a sweater, I did a long sleeve, and I just stopped if I was cold in the store and warmed up a little bit and then got back out. Because being out for so long and riding so much, I thought a sweater would make me a bit too overheated. So for like a 2-hour ride, sweater would be good in this temperature. And then put a soft shell jacket over. Let me show you the one that I have. It's not super heavy. It's incredibly breathable. So you're going to want to put something over it if you're in this degree range, because you're just immediately going to get cold, because it is a nice breathable piece. But it is thick. Well, I mean, it's thin, but it's like, it has like a thickness, a warmth to it. It's soft shell. It's fleece lined. It's a really nice piece to have in your winter cycling arsenal. And if you're riding in like cold weather, or even if you go like skiing or like cross country skiing, like it's a nice jacket to have that you can use even outside of cycling. So I put my windproof and waterproof jacket over top of this. And whenever I bought my waterproof jacket, I went a size up because I knew that it would be more so a layering piece. So if you're going to be investing in outer layering pieces, I would recommend going a size up so that you can comfortably layer underneath. Again, you don't want to be constricted, because then that constricts your blood flow, which isn't going to keep you warm. Let's put the buff on the neck so that you can pull that up over your face, over your cheeks if necessary. And I'm definitely going to do a little cap in this degree range, a thermal cap that has that like fleece lining. I use one that I found for skiing because it has these like little holes in the side here that I can put my sunglasses or my glasses through. And it's so much more comfortable and keeps my glasses in place. Riding in cold weather, you're going to want to wear glasses. Cold eyeballs is a really strange and terrible feeling. So if you're not an eyeglass wearer, buy yourself some clear glasses. You can get them for super cheap. I use like, I think they're called kids Halloween geek glasses for my cycling clear lens glasses. And then of course, you know, a nice pair of sunglasses is always good to have. So for the hands, you could do your lobster claw, or have your wool liner gloves, and then break out some bar mitts. So these go on your bike. If you've got a drop bar bike, this is the kind for those. They also make ones that are for flat handlebars, but these go over the hoods, over the handlebars of your bike, and you slide your hand in, and oh my gosh, it keeps your hands so cozy. And they also, like, there is some aerodynamics in this design, so it's not super killing your speed, but it's like such a lifesaver to have these. I highly recommend investing in these if you're going to do a lot of cold weather riding. They're just so darn cozy, and you wear these lighter gloves. You have better dexterity, not just for shifting and stuff, but to grab a snack or something while you're riding. Really helpful to have. And he's got his little helmet, John. And that's it. Mr. Bill's ready to ride in 25 to 35 degree weather. Oh, wait, I forgot a piece. Sorry. And overshoe. So there was the toe cap piece that I showed you for the last temperature range. This goes over the entire shoe. This is the exact overshoe that I have, and I swear it can be seen from space. But it keeps my feet feeling awesome, and I can be out all day. Again, it's like that soft shell material. It's got a fleece lining. It's got a toe cap. No wind is getting in there. Zips in the back, hooks underneath your shoe so that you can still have your clips working. Really nice piece to have if you're going to be cycling a lot in the winter. Okay, that one is officially done. I'm going to get him undressed, and we're going to talk about 25 degrees and below. If ever you decide to do this, it's fun, but it's very cold. Keep that. I'm pretty much keeping all this on him. So we've got the wool socks, possibly liners if you want to double up like that. We've got the long thermals, the overshoes, lobster glove, or bar mitts with a liner. We have the tank, moisture wicking tank underneath. We have a sweater. We've got definitely have this thick head cover. But when it's pushing this, whoop, I need to change this. I was like, that's not cold enough. Here we go. That's a good feeling. Whenever we're here, like real feel here, I'm going to say put a puffer jacket on. Some people might say that this is too much. It's not going to be breathable enough. But the last outfit that he had on, I wore in 25 Fahrenheit or below, and I was painfully cold. So when it comes to that, I recommend having a puffer. Have one that's packable, just in case it does end up being too much for you. But it's nice to have, great to have off the bike too, a really versatile piece. But when it comes to this, puffer, and then you'll take your rainproof jacket and put that over top. Put his little helmet on. Get that neck gaiter in there. And Mr. Bill is ready to go. Once it gets under like 12 degrees, I think that's just too much clothes for riding your bike. But there are like soft shell over pants that you can put over your long thermal leggings, bibs. But like, again, that's just like super constricting. I don't really like riding in them, because it's not that fun to ride in. So that's pretty much, we've got almost all the clothes on Mr. Bill right now to be able to have his 25 Fahrenheit and below adventure. So that's everything as far as that goes. I've got a couple hot tips, a couple other things to go over with you for riding in the cold. Let's see here what's happening in the chat. What brand of jacket is the gray one? That is Specialized. I got it at Carytown. Shoe covers are also Specialized. So in my follow-up email tomorrow, I will link and say exactly what all the brands are. of some of my favorite riding materials and what stores you can get them in locally. Now maybe you'll get them and not like them as much, but I feel like I've done like a pretty exhaustive search for like having nice pieces that work really well, because I didn't want to invest in like 15 different gloves until I found the right pair. So I try to be a one and done gal. All right, let's move on to some hot tips. Hot tips for cold weather riding. Before you get out there, know the terrain and weather that you're getting into. If you're just doing flat pavement, that's going to feel completely different than if you're in the woods on a mountain bike. That's going to be a lot warmer. So you're going to want to adjust your outfits, even if the real feel is the same between a road ride and a mountain bike. It's going to look a little bit different. So road riding is cold. Mountain biking is warmer. Gravel riding is warmer. Climbing is warmest. Road riding is coldest because you're pretty much going. You're really creating that wind. You're usually like out in like more an open area. When you get into the woods, it's a little bit warmer. When you're on gravel or dirt, it's gonna slow you down a little bit more. But descending is the coldest. So that's when having that removable packable layer comes in handy, so that you can take it off before the climb and then put it back on for the descent, because you're usually going to get sweaty whenever you're climbing. And on the descent, it's really, really cold. So you don't want to be wet and cold. It is a bad combination. Touch a little bit on bike maintenance. So the cold does affect your tire pressure due to condensation. So before your ride, really before any ride, you want to check your tire pressure, but especially in the winter, check your tire pressure before you get out there, and have a portable pump on you. Those are always nice. On the Virginia Capitol Trail, we do have fix-it stations that have operable pumps that you can take advantage of. And lube your chain frequently and before you ride, especially if you're in like weathering cold weather, like if it's sleeting or snowing. You're going to want to keep that chain clean, or your chain's going to get messed up, and then your cassette's going to get messed up, and then your drivetrain's going to get messed up, and then you got like a whole lot of money you got to shell out to get your bike fixed. So easy things to do: check your tire pressure, lube your chain. Some additional gear to have on you: hand and toe warmers. Always nice to have on hand, just to slip in there in case you do get too cold, or make sure you have some store stops on your ride. If you're doing a longer ride, usually gas stations will have hand warmers that you can pick up, and they really can be a lifesaver. Lip balm, not only for your lips, but also for your nose. Oh my gosh, my nose gets like so torn up in winterized because I'm just constantly wiping on my glove, my poor little nose. I'll just take out that lip balm and I'll just smear it all over my nose while I'm riding. Feels so good and saves my little sensitive skin there. Even though it's the winter, you still want to put sunscreen on your face. Not just when you know that the sun's going to be out, but even if it's going to be a cloudy day, the sun is still there. The sun can still get you. Just always wear sunscreen. Pretty easy to do. And they have like tinted face moisturizers that have like SPF 30 in them in case you want to like look good while you're riding. Those are really nice. Take that extra pump. Like I said, tire pressure can quickly fluctuate. So it's nice to have a carryable pump on hand while you're riding. Not necessary, but just nice to have. If you have a riding buddy, one of you can carry the pump. Lights. So it's winter, and that means it is not only cold, but it is dark and sad. So you want to have lights on you. Make sure they're charged. Before I ride any day, like I just plug in my lights overnight all the time. I have like a little charging station set up. Each light has its own cord. If they're not on my bike, they are charging. Another fun thing to keep charged is a battery bank. The cold also likes to kill electronics. So if you do have your cell phone on you when you're riding, keep it close to your body so that it can stay warm, so that you can save that battery in case of emergency. But otherwise, have a battery bank with you and a couple of different cords in case your lights need charge, in case your cell phone needs to be charged. Battery bank, those are usually about the same size and weight as a cell phone. Bike bags. I love bags, and I love that riding a bike gives me a reason to buy even more bags. Very fun. Stem sacks, stuff sacks, frame bags. There's all kinds of different bags that you can try out. Handlebar bags, a seat bag. Really fun arena to get into. But it's very nice to have some additional bags on you when you're winter riding, to store those additional layers, to take out those additional layers, have those snacks, have those tools on you, keep yourself ready to go. And then again, those bar mitts, very nice to have. And then in the email that I will send you tomorrow, I'll also give you another bar mitt option. They're called pogies. They're like a down bar mitt option, and you can get them custom and have them like really colorful. This is what bar mitts look like on your bike in case you've never seen them before. Touch on nutrition a little bit. Even though it's cold and you might not feel like you're getting super duper sweaty, you still want to hydrate. Have some insulated water bottles. I mean, really for any season, but it's nice to have them for the winter so that you're not just immediately drinking freezing cold water while you might be already feeling freezing cold. I like to put like hot water in my water bottles whenever I start my ride out, because when I'm getting warmed up and I go to drink, it's not freezing cold. And then usually by my ride, I have like a comfortably cold drink rather than something that's too cold and I don't want to drink it. You want to make sure that you make hydrating yourself feel good. Soft goods and soft foods and eat more. Okay. So in the winter, foods can freeze, and biting into a super hard candy bar while you're riding doesn't feel that great. So I recommend making yourself some cornbread or some banana bread, grabbing a donut, and take that kind of food out with you on a ride rather than grabbing gels. Keep yourself cozy. It's the winter, you know. You can indulge a bit and have those super soft foods with you. You're still going to want to eat while you're riding in the cold. And like I said before, having those bar mitts, you can have liner gloves on, which helps you have better dexterity, which means you can get your food. If it's easier to get your food, you're going to eat your food. And pre-open your food before you ride. Like if you have like little gummies that you're going to like munch on the whole time, have that already open in your pocket or something so that you don't have to mess with opening it while you're riding. Stops, make sure, even if like you want to go hard in this ride and you just want to go for a long time, still make sure that there are store stops along your route just in case something goes bad. You don't want to be stuck out there when it's freezing cold or even in the summer when it's crazy hot. Always have a backup plan, and that goes along with planning your route. know where you're going, know where you are. If you're going by yourself, make sure you tell someone where you're at. You could share your location, have your Strava going, just in case something goes bad. You want to be able to have someone to help you easily or get yourself help easily. And in closing, experiment. At the beginning, like I said, this is all very personal. Some people's bodies run super warm. Some people's bodies run super cold. Sometimes just your hands or feet are really, really cold. So it's going to take some experimentation to find out what feels good for cold weather riding. If you're just getting into it, I recommend like parking at 4 Mile Creek or like Chickahominy Riverfront Park and just riding like 5 miles one way, coming back 5 miles. So that 10 miles is like a test, and then you come back to your car if you need to take anything off or change out any kind of layer, and then you can go 5 miles out and 5 miles the other way back, and keep yourself comfortable and have a better setup whenever you're figuring out what it feels like to ride in the cold. Okay, time for questions. I think there was a couple more that came through in the chat. My feet and hands stay cold. Shoe covers did not work for me. What brands are the overstocks? These are Gore. So Gore Wear, they are like top of the line. They are the industry lead in waterproofing, windproofing. I think even the Specialized jacket, like it's Gore. They pretty much have the entire industry because they're the best at it. They figured it out really well. Gore were the toe covers. Interesting. Oh my goodness, this is Martha. I'd be happy to talk to you more about this and like learn like what shoes you're wearing, what socks you're wearing, and try to figure that out. My friend, so I have Raynaud's in my hands. Like even just like at home, if I'm just working, like my fingers will just turn purple. So I have to be like super careful with my hands. And my friend has Raynaud's in his feet. He just always has toe warmers in his shoes. So that he can be out riding in the cold. That's what he's figured out has actually finally been able to work for him. We'll talk later. You know it. You know it. Yeah. All right. So John asks, when you do the leg knee warmers, what's the etiquette for the grippers? What goes over what? Excellent question. So you first want to put on your warmers. Like that's like pretty much the first thing you want to put on. You're not wearing anything else. You put on your warmers and you feel a little silly for a little bit. But you want to pull them up pretty much to the very top of your thigh. And then you put on your leggings, your shorts. So the shorts will help to keep those leg warmers in place. If you try it the other way around, you'll find out that your leg warmers will fall down your legs. So first you put on the warmers, then you put on the bibs, and then you ride your bike. Any other questions? You're happy to speak if you'd like, or you can just keep chatting at me. No pressure.
So, Marcy, I'll talk for just a minute. Hey, it's Gail. Yeah, I just kind of this year started with the cold, weather riding, and so I rode a couple times in the cold. It was pretty nippy. It might have been like wind chills of 12. But my hands and feet get really, 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 really cold. And so I found out that actually I got mittens with the fingers and the mittens that you can take them off and, you have your fingers. But I found that wearing the mittens and putting the hand warmers inside of the mittens actually really helped to keep my hands warm because I was wearing gloves and it was my fingers individually were so cold. And so even with the hand warmer in my glove, it was not warming up. It wasn't warming up. So I found that wearing the mittens actually, when my fingers are together, actually warms them a lot, keeps them warm better. I don't know why, but it does. So
yeah. So like the fingers next to each other, they're putting off heat. They're giving each other heat. If you separate those, they don't have any buddies to be working along with. And I think there are even special gloves out there that like have specific pockets for hand warmers, and like mitten gloves that have that pocket like right on top of your fingers, in the coldest area. Those might be like ski specific.
I was gonna say, I think it's ski gloves, yeah.
But I've totally rocked ski gloves for a very long time riding in the winter. I just had to be a little careful with dexterity, but like I wanted to ride and I didn't want my hands to be painful. So I just got the ski gloves. Anybody else that can help out? Well, I'll be following.
I'm sorry, Marcy. I was just going to say, one of our riders here in Williamsburg has battery-operated knee socks, and she loves them.
Nice.
She wears them all the time. I mean, so that's something else. I don't know if they have them for your hands or not, but yeah, my hands are the same way.
Maybe.
They do. They actually have the battery-operated hand, the gloves as well. And I actually have the battery-operated socks, and they actually do work.
Oh my gosh.
They do work.
That's wonderful. I haven't ever tried anything like that, like being active. Like I think there's even battery-operated jackets too, that have like those warming coils. But if you've used them and they feel great, and you know people who have the cold hands and feet issue who use them, go for it. Give it a try. I kind of shy away from electronics like that. Like if I'm like going out somewhere, because electronics can fail. But if they're working, give them a go. That's great. That's good to know. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Marcy.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, well, like I said, I will send you an email tomorrow reviewing these things. I'll have a chart for you. Love a good chart. There'll be links. There'll be name dropping. And if you have any questions, you can reply to that email or send me an email at any time. If you have questions about cold weather riding, warm weather riding, if you just want to tell me about an awesome ride that you had, I'd love to hear it. So this year for the Virginia Capitol Trail Foundation, for some reason, I've decided to ride a century every month on the trail. So my next one, I think it's going to be Saturday, February 18th. It should feel really terrible out there. So I'm very excited. We have a pop-up rest stop at 4 Mile Creek that day, I'm pretty sure. Well, we'll be serving hot chocolate. So I'm hoping to hit that up at some point in time. If I miss it, I will be sad. But y'all should make sure that you don't miss it. If you want to join me on one of these crazy century rides, if not for the whole time, if just for a little bit, you want to pop out and roll along with me, I'd be happy to have you. Again, just shoot me an email and we'll get out there on the trail and ride some bikes. Thank you guys so much for coming this evening.
Thanks, Marcy. It was great. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, y'all.
So,
You too. Have a good night, man.